Of Master Your Mindset. I'm your host, Isis Foster. And if you haven't already, please make sure you give us a follow on Instagram at Official Mindset Coach. On this week's podcast, I am so excited to be having yet another incredible guest. Her name is Layla Larari, and she is a mindset coach. She's incredible. We connected over social media about 3 years ago, and her content is so much fun. So without no further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Layla.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's so nice to be here with you.
You are so welcome. So like I said, we connected on Instagram about, I would say 3 years ago, was it?
Yeah, it's been a little while, maybe like 2.5 years or so.
And we've
But
always...
it's so nice to connect with people.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We've always had each other like there, and obviously working within like the same industry, we are quite similar. When we had the initial call, we were almost like, wow, like how have we never properly spoken before?
Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying. It's so nice to just have somebody that like you share the same perspective and you have the kind of same outlook on life, and to have those conversations where you connect with each other. It's really nice. So it's good to be here.
Yeah, because I usually have a lot of guests on this podcast who work within different avenues. I had a marketer on here last week, and before that, I had a social media agency. And it's actually, I think you're the first person I've had on here that does exactly the same line of work as myself. So this will be so interesting. This will be like putting two heads together. And yeah, I'm just so excited. So do you want to share a little bit about
I'm
yourself?
sure it'll go well. Yeah, of course. So I'm Layla Larari, and I started mindset coaching about 3.5 years ago. So it's been a little while. I basically came into it because I was on my own journey of self-discovery, which I'm sure you can relate to as well, about 10 years ago. And it just kind of set me on this trajectory of where I kind of found my purpose and I realized what I wanted to be doing. And it brought me here. So super grateful for every kind of avenue that life takes you on.
I'm so excited to have you on, and I can't wait to hear everything that you're going to share with the listeners today. So I know that this podcast episode is all about how to get yourself out of those really hard places, how to pull yourself out of your negative thoughts, because sometimes those thoughts override the whole trajectory of our life, and it becomes increasingly difficult to get yourself out, especially when thoughts starts to spiral and you're a bit like, how have I got myself to this place? Because life moves so fast, doesn't it? And before long, if you let those thoughts overrun your life, you end up in a place which you're not particularly happy with. So what are your
100%.
experiences with that?
Well, so pretty much exactly what you said, that was my personal experience. And I was living this life every single day where I was in a really low place, pretty much at rock bottom. Felt like there was no way out, feelings of really low vibrational feelings, feeling like hopeless and helpless and stuck and trapped, which led me into a kind of a spiral of anxiety and depression, and everything kind of just culminated in, a kind of cry for help. And I felt like at that time, the only thing I could do was change. What I had been doing so far was not working. So the only thing that was literally left for me to do was try anything else. And I kind of stumbled upon the world of CBT and meditation and kind of mindfulness and everything else. And I was the biggest skeptic. Like if you told me like go and do meditation, I would have said, why? That's a waste of my time. It's not going to work. I was so, so arrogant and so like, stuck in my ways. I was unwilling to accept that maybe the issue was me, and I had this, excuse me, I had this victim mentality and this victim mindset, and life hadn't been easy for me up until then, but, like everyone does have their own challenges in life. And I think it really is, down to how you handle those challenges. And that's what comes with kind of shifting from that kind of fixed mindset into a growth mindset and being able to say like, I can take accountability for the role I've played in my life thus far. But now I am going to be in control of what happens next. I'm going to decide what my future is going to be. And that actually makes you feel so empowered that it helps you get out of that really dark place. And that's what it was for me. Like I was dedicating hours and hours of my day. I mean, I had nothing else to do. I was studying at uni at the time. Well, I did have stuff. I should have been studying, but instead I was doing this. It's fine. So I spent hours and hours of my day. I sat down and I said, who am I? Like, who am I in this very moment? And who do I want to be? And it's kind of the most important thing is bridging the gap between who you are now and who you want to be. And in order to do that, you have to have a high degree of self-awareness. And you have to go through a period of discomfort where you sit down and you say, listen, these are the areas where I'm struggling, and these are the areas where I'm failing, and these are the things I have to change. Like who I am right now, it's not working for me. I have to be kind of grown up enough to say, I need to change myself, and it's not to put yourself down by saying you need to change. Like everyone's had things that have shaped who they are. We all have some limiting beliefs. We have negative emotions and thoughts and feelings that we experience all the time. And we have traumas that have made us who we are. But if you don't heal, even if you think that you're okay, if you don't do the healing work, you're always going to be repeating the same patterns, and you're never going to be able to get yourself out of that place. So I think first step for me was really getting clear on who I was, what challenges I was facing, understanding those challenges. And as I was saying a minute ago, for me, that meant I literally went on YouTube, and every single thing I was experiencing, like the anxiety, the depression, the feeling hopeless, the guilt, the shame, all of these really negative emotions, low vibrational emotions, I sat down and I spent hours on YouTube researching, understanding them so that I could then understand myself better. And then I could work on them. Then I could take like actionable steps to kind of improving those things in my life, like those feelings of guilt and shame, and kind of coming to terms of, you can't change the past, but I can change the future. And that was really an empowering moment for me. It took me a few years on this journey. I didn't have any help or guidance. I didn't have social media. Like now people are so fortunate. You can go on Instagram and you can kind of get all of these tips and guidance for free. I didn't actually have that, 10 years ago, it wasn't as readily available. So I did it all myself, and I really learned who I was, what I needed to change, and started bridging the gap between like that version of me, which was like at rock bottom, to becoming my best version. And now I help others do the same. So
I just love that so much. And honestly, I can relate to all of that. I think the most important part of that whole journey was the self-awareness, realizing you were at a place in your life where you weren't happy. And it is so scary. And I think anyone who's been on a personal development journey or is currently on a personal development journey within themselves has, like, I can remind myself of exactly where I was, what I was doing, where I was like, this isn't the life I want to be living. And
yeah,
that you start to play the blame game, and you can blame people, and you can blame your situation, you can blame your childhood and all these things as to why you're not where you want to be. But ultimately, it's got to come from you. You've got to take control of that whole situation and say, well, it's within my power now. Like, we're adults. If you want to keep living that life that you're not happy with, then keep doing that. But there's no one else to blame at this point other than yourself, because you're the adult here. And there's so many resources out there. The thing that makes me happy, like honestly, the happiest thing, and you'll probably be the same within the coaching world as well, is when someone comes to you and says, like, I'm ready, like I want to make a change, help me do this. And it's the greatest feeling.
Yeah, and I think because we've been there. I don't know about you. I don't know your full story, but I mean, I've been there for sure. So I can't speak for you. But when you realize, like what you were just saying, that you don't want to be continuing with what you're doing so far, like you're ready for more, you're ready for better. That is that empowering moment that you can then take with you to say, like, if it means that I have to change some parts of myself, why not? I want to be my best version. I want my life to be the best it can be. Why am I going to stay with mediocrity? Mediocrity.
Mediocrity.
Mediocrity. I should cut that. Why am I going to stay with mediocrity, or why am I going to stay the same when I can actually do things within my control right now? I can take steps today to change that kind of trajectory of my life. And there's so many small things you can do to kind of first have that self-awareness, and then start putting processes in place to change the way that you're living your everyday. And if you're somebody, I was really negative. I had such a negative way of thinking. Like every situation, I would have a negative response. Every interaction would be negative, whether it was just somebody I bumped into in like the coffee shop or something. I was had so much like resentment and hatred and self-hate as well within, that it was kind of projecting and manifesting onto like the outside world around me. And it was not long after that that I then realized the link between all of that, the kind of really low vibrational thoughts I was having and the kind of experiences I was living. And that's when I also discovered kind of the law of attraction and the ability to make your thoughts work for you and create the life around you that you really truly desire.
Where do you think that negativity came from? Because I'll be completely honest, I am a super positive person. Like all my friends and my family are like, you are so positive.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I work with a lot of clients, and you too as well probably, who have a really negative interior. And it takes
Mm-hmm.
years and years and years to try and shift that, because if that's what you've been brought up around, maybe your parents are super negative, or maybe your partner's really negative, so that like falls back onto you. For you personally,
Mm-hmm.
like where did that come from?
I think like I kind of I'd had this life that thus far at that point in time that had given me these negative emotions of like, why me? I felt like a victim of my circumstances. I felt like, why do other people have an easy childhood and an easy upbringing and an easy life, and why did I have to have this experience and this life? You know, and I felt like a victim, and I started to hate myself, and every single bad thing that had happened, or every single like small little mistake I'd made over, you know, the course of my 18 years. So it's like pretty much when I was a teenager, I was so judgmental of who I was and like anything I'd done that I had so little self-worth. I hated who I was internally. And that was creating all the negative emotions that I was then exhibiting to the world around me, you know? And I think that's where it all comes into play, you know? You have your experiences, it's how you choose to handle them that makes all the difference. And I at that moment was choosing to let them get the better of me and to let them kind of keep me in that space of feeling stuck, feeling hopeless, and feeling like a victim of my circumstances. And it wasn't until I really worked on changing that victim mentality that I was able to say, listen, there's nobody coming to save you. The only person that is in control of your life that can help you in this life is going to be you. And if you want things to change, you have to change. You know, and that for me entailed, I've never been a super positive person. I literally had to retrain my brain to become more positive and more optimistic. I was so skeptical, so pessimistic, you know, everything you can imagine, and so angry. I had so much anger. And I really had to work hard to reprogram that side of me, you know, just shifting from pessimism to optimism, from negativity to positivity. You know, all of these things were paramount to me being able to kind of reprogram my mind, you
That
know,
is,
and also
yeah,
self-belief as well. Yeah.
that's
Mm-hmm.
incredible
Just
because
be believing in yourself.
it
Sorry,
takes
I
so
didn't mean to
much
lag.
energy, doesn't it? To be so negative all the time, and to be so bitter, and to have all this resentment, and to carry all this anger. Like, it takes a lot of energy to be that way. It's almost
Mm-hmm.
easier to just be a happy-go-lucky personality and to just let things be
Mm-hmm.
and just be happy for the way things are working out, even if they're not
Mm-hmm.
within your favor. But obviously, if you're not naturally like that, or you like yourself, you've been in situations which have made you bitter and made you angry, it is very hard and
Mm-hmm.
it takes a lot of work. You're literally living proof that it does work though, but it takes a lot of work to get yourself
Mm-hmm.
from that anger, that resentment, that bitterness to where you are today. But you're living proof that it does work and it can happen. And there's nobody out there who is so angry who could never be the opposite if they want to make that
No,
change.
everyone can change. Everyone has the power to change. It's called neuroplasticity, right? You can change your brain at any moment. Obviously, the longer you've gone in life being the same way, you know, I was probably like 21 at the time. So I'd not had as many years. When you're 45, 50, it is harder to change because you've lived that way for so many decades, right? But anyone can change the way that they're thinking, you know, and it's just about kind of having that desire to change. That's the first and foremost thing. You know, you need to have the will to change, otherwise you're not going to. You know, and even sometimes like clients do come to you and they think like, I'm ready to change, but then when you start saying, okay, like start implementing these things into your life, you know, they start saying, oh, okay, wait, this is a lot, you know, and it's like, do you want to change or do you want to stay the same? Because like you do have to take actionable steps towards change if you want to create that life that you want to live. And what I did was, like I said, really focus on bridging the gap between who I was and who I wanted to be. And that meant changing the negative ways I was thinking, the negative interactions I was having. It meant cutting toxic people out of my life that was kind of only enhancing the negative circle around me. It was changing my entire lifestyle. So I was like heavy into the London nightlife scene at that time, and that was only creating even more negativity for my life. So I went full on like ghost mode. You know, I literally cut everyone out. I focused on me. I retreated into my home. I did all the self work that I could. And you know what? It did work. Like you said, you know, if you're willing to do the work, it will work out for you in the end. You just have to stay consistent and you have to stay dedicated to your goals, and you have to be clear on what you want and who you want to be. You know, if you're happy with things how they are, amazing. You can keep going like how it is. You don't have to change anything. But if you are somebody who wants more, you have to know that something needs to change within what you're doing right now. So sitting down, writing out what you're doing now that needs to change, what you're not doing now that your best version would be doing if you were them in this present moment, and start implementing those things in the present day. Every single thing that you do today is going to set you up 6 months from now. So it's really important to go on the journey, but you have to have the dedication to do it, and you have to stay consistent, and you have to be motivated. You know, focus on your why and just really try and get to that place where you can see, like, listen, when I was on this journey, I just thought, why am I even doing this? At some point, I was like, what am I even doing? Okay, it makes me feel a little bit better each day, but is this actually changing my life? Is this actually helping me? And it wasn't like until like maybe a year later that I was like, you know what? I was expecting for something massive to be shown to me to say, wow, you've come so far. But I hadn't realized that every single day I was making progress, and all of that progress was adding up to like who I now was. You know, I think you become so blind to how much you're actually progressing because you're waiting to like hit that big goal of yours, that you're kind of like, you don't really even realize how much you're actually growing and healing and, you know, becoming that version of you. And it's literally within every single day, the little things that you do every day that kind of all of a sudden you wake up a year or two later and you're like, wow, I've grown so much. Wow, I'm becoming that version of me. And that only encourages you to keep going. But you kind of have to get over that little that little beginning bit where you're like, is this working? Is this a waste of my time? Is it not? Am I doing the right thing? Just stick with it, trust, and it will work out.
I completely agree. You're speaking so much truth. I absolutely love it. So, for the person listening to this podcast today who knows they want to make a change, but maybe they're a little bit scared because it's something they've never done before, what advice would you give them?
I would say first, get clear on who you are and who you want to be. This is the number one step. Sit down, write it out, journal, you know, whatever it is you have to do, write out literally everything about yourself right now, and write out everything about who you want to be, that best version of you, and figure out what you're doing now, what you're not doing now, and what that future version of you would be doing and would not be doing, and kind of bring that version of you into the present. You know, live as that best version of you now, and you will soon become it. You know, that's the kind of key. Getting clear on what your limiting beliefs are, getting clear on, are you somebody who loves themselves? Are you somebody who's got a really harsh inner critic that's really self-deprecating? You know, I think people think that being self-deprecating is kind of an advantage in a way because it pushes you and makes you strive to keep going and to do more. But it's literally the opposite. It only like brings about even more feelings of insecurity and self-doubt and all of these negative emotions that you want to be distancing yourself from. You want to be having like 95% of our thoughts are subconscious, right? So you have to go deep within understanding yourself to reprogram the subconscious. Because if you're only working on that 5% conscious, you know, those thoughts that are conscious, you're not actually going to be creating any meaningful change within your own mind and within your own life. So you do need to go a little bit deep. You really need to go understand what your traumas are, what your limiting beliefs are, you know, where you need to improve, what you need to do for yourself and it might just mean standing and telling yourself every single day how amazing you are, how much you love yourself. Small things like this, they sound, people think, I'm not going to go and stand in the mirror and just say, oh, I love you, I love myself, and you can do this. People don't want to do it. They think it's cheesy or corny, right? What do you have to lose? And I think when I started reframing my own mindset and thinking, what do I have to lose by doing this? Like right now, what I'm doing is not working. So what do I actually have to lose by trying something new, even if I feel like it's pointless or stupid or it's not going to work? Just open your mind as well. Don't think that what you know up until this point is the way. You always have to kind of have that kind of mindset of, I'm always open to the fact that maybe I don't know everything. Maybe there's things that I can learn that are going to help me and going to benefit me. And I think when I shifted to that kind of like a growth mindset, it was kind of pivotal in my own progression, because that kind of enabled me to do things I hadn't been doing. And those things actually did work. And they literally did change my life. Like 10 years ago, I was so low, like, I was having really extremely low thoughts. It was in a really bad place. To come from that, to come to where I am, it's a testament to the fact that these things do work. All the self-work, all the things that you do to the self-improvement, it all works if you're just going to stay consistent and dedicate yourself to that journey.
It's so interesting that you speak about a growth and a fixed mindset, because like you, I was exactly the same. You only know what you know until you know more. And I think growing up, especially being a teenager, you are kind of in a position where you think you know everything. You're not a child anymore, but you're not quite an adult. You're in that like middle ground where you think you're old enough to like do whatever you want to do, and you think you know everything about every topic and no one can tell you anything. And that's actually a really, really scary place to be in, because there'll be people out there who want to help you, but because your brain hasn't evolved to wanting to gain that knowledge, you will stay forever trapped in this box. And the scariest part is going into adulthood and still having a fixed mindset, still thinking you know more than people who work in that industry maybe, or specialize in that niche. And to close yourself off to so much information is just so silly. And even now, like you and I both run coaching businesses, and if somebody who had been doing it longer than us came in and gave me information, there is no way I would shut them down and say, no, that doesn't work. You're just, when you get to the place of wanting to grow the way that you think, you become a sponge. Like when people tell me things and I've never heard that piece of information before, or I don't know much about that topic, I'm fascinated. I'm like, wow,
Me too.
it's incredible. Tell me more about that. Like, I think once you realize that you don't know everything about everything out there, you want to learn more. And then it becomes kind of addictive, because you're like, I want to know about that. And then I want to know about this. And I don't know about you, but like, I just want to know about everything, even if it's not mindset
Me
related.
too.
Facts
I
fascinate
was
me.
Googling astrophysics. I was literally Googling like astrophysics the other day, and I was like, what am I doing? It was like 1 a.m, and I'm like heavy, like into this astrophysics
No, but
on
it's so
Google.
fascinating. And we have so much access to so many different topics out there, especially with social media. I know you need to take social media with a pinch of salt massively, because not everything on there is true. But there, again, there's so many people who work within certain industries who are sharing really interesting, life-changing facts with you.
No, 100%. Yeah, and I think like just being willing to, you need to have the understanding that you're not the smartest person in the world. Like, like there's somebody out there, like you said, an expert in the field who probably has some experience and some expertise that you don't know, that maybe is going to be able to open your eyes and change your world and your life. But you just have to be willing to kind of accept that, put your ego aside and say, listen, I don't know everything. And when I was 20, I thought I knew everything.
Oh, didn't
like
we all did.
to think that at 20 I thought that I knew more than these like experts is quite astounding. But it is again a testament to the fact that the work I did really did help, because now I'm comfortable to say like I'm definitely not the smartest person in the world. I'm definitely willing to learn and improve. 20-year-old me was confident, but it was fake confidence, right? And it was like bravado. You're so insecure inside that you put on this mask outside to say like, you know, this is me, I'm so confident, I'm so clever, I'm so amazing, da da da. But most of the time, it's a facade. You know, you're hiding behind this bravado to try and protect that kind of wounded inner version of you that is, you know, that doesn't love themselves, that doesn't see their worth, you know, and those things go hand in hand with creating the life you desire. Only when you start loving yourself and you let go of that kind of self-deprecating mindset and you start, you know, seeing your worth and really believing that you deserve the things that you desire, are you going to start attracting them into your life. You literally cannot be in a place of extreme low self-worth or hopelessness or all of these low vibrational feelings, you know, low vibrational frequencies that these emotions have in, you know, universally. You cannot be feeling like that every single day and expect to be attracting your dream life. It's just not going to happen. So what do you need to do to bridge the gap? You need to work on all of those things in between that are standing in your way of becoming that version of you.
And everything that you want literally starts within. It sounds so cliche and I hate saying it, but it genuinely is so true. If your goal is to, let's say, lose weight within the next year, if you don't feel good in yourself internally, you're going to be like, oh, well, I'm just going to stay like this. There's no point in me going to the gym because I feel really bad already. You have to love yourself enough to say, I deserve more than this. I want to change the way that I feel about myself. So I'm going to take myself to the gym. I'm not going to eat all these things which I shouldn't be eating. Like, there's so many things which you've actually got the power to change, but you have to want it enough within you in order to make those changes.
Yeah, 100%.
It's one thing making the changes, but then I think a lot of people struggle to like stay with it. Like I coach a lot of people who their goal was to lose a bit of weight, and to love themselves a bit more and to feel confident in what they're wearing and things like this. And they're like, yeah, it worked for like a month, and then I just kind of like stopped doing it. Listen, and they get to a point where they think, okay, well, this is how I feel now, so this is how I'm going to feel forever. And I know that you journal as well, Layla. And if I'm having a really good day, sometimes I won't journal because I'm like, I've had such a good day. And I feel like I only journal if I have a bad day. But then over my journaling journey, I'm like, actually, I should be journaling on those really good days as well, because you're almost attracting more goodness into your life. If you only ever speak or write about things which aren't good, that's almost you asking the universe for more of the bad stuff. And I know it's good to
100%.
but yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey?
Yeah, so my journaling was always very much like when I'm feeling really negative or when I've got something going on, I would sit down and I'd write it out. And it worked wonders for me, it did. But then trying to like shift, like you said, and sit down and write and journal when you're not having a shitty day, when you're not feeling super negative, it's a bit different, isn't it? You know, then you realize that you can use journaling in two ways. You can use it to heal and to grow, but you can also use it to build and create that future version of the life that you want for yourself. So I think that was something I incorporated. And a lot of my clients say to me too as well, like, you know, why do I don't want to sit down and journal if I'm having a good day? You know, I don't want to like start thinking about negative things. And you don't have to do that at all. You know, you can literally use it to your advantage. There's so many benefits that come from things like journaling, things like affirmations, all of these things, meditating, understanding the importance of being present. All of these things are just going to build the kind of mindset that you need to kind of take with you, that's going to like then shape everything else. It's going to bring you the happiness, it's going to bring you the success and whatever it is that you desire and you want to attract into your life.
And I think a lot of people, their automatic reaction to journaling is it has to be loads of bad things. It only has to be things which are bothering me or triggering me or things that I keep thinking about which aren't positive. I changed the trajectory of journaling when I started writing down everything that was going well in my life. So at the bottom of every journal entry of every day, I'll do gratitudes. And this is something which honestly helps me sleep better. And I'll journal every night before I go to sleep. And those are the last things which I will write in a journal. And I think it's nice to carry those thoughts through rather than have negative thoughts before you go to sleep. To write down 5 or 6 things which you are actually grateful for, because they're the last things which will be playing in your subconscious as you fall asleep. So you'll automatically wake up feeling and thinking of those things.
Yeah, 100%. So I would always do my like negative journaling. I would sit down and do my negative journaling kind of in the evening, and then later on in the night, I have like another journal that I would sit and I would write out all the positive things for my day, and kind of like a self-reflection of that day or of that week, even if it's the end of the week, and some things that I'm grateful for, just to shift into that kind of positive vibration before sleep, like you said, to kind of start reprogramming your subconscious. There was a time as well, I used to literally fall asleep listening to like hours and hours of meditations and hypnosis that would work whilst you're asleep. And I'm pretty sure that I'm confident that they did work, you know, like hours and hours whilst you're sleeping, with your subconscious mind being the most active, listening to these things, it's reprogramming your brain without you even realizing. So there's so many things that you can do, like even you don't even have to be fully awake for it. You can literally go to sleep, put something on, wake up feeling more positive. So there's a way for everybody. Where even if you're super lazy, start with that, then build up to, you know, sitting down and journaling every day.
Oh,
There's no excuses, basically. You can change your life no matter who you are. You know, just making it clear there's a way for everybody.
oh, Layla, you've been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on to this week's episode of Master Your Mindset. You can find Layla on
Thank you.
Instagram. I will drop her handle in the show notes below. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone, and we will speak to you next week. Have a beautiful week.